Hi.
And Donna and John.
Morning, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
I don't know who that was.
Me, maybe? Hi, Molly.
Morning, Marilyn.
Morning.
Morning, Carolyn.
Morning.
Morning, Les.
More people.
Good afternoon,
Everybody got
Amy.
their shots now?
34 already.
Morning, afternoon, Amy.
Yeah.
Is George there with you? Amy, can you hear me?
Who, me?
Nakano. Oh, I see the ceiling.
Morning, Terry.
Good morning.
Hi, Mari. Oh, there's Hugh. Hi, Hugh. Hi, Marty.
Hi. No, Hugh's not here yet. He's
Hi,
just
Marty.
coming. Hi, good
Marty.
morning.
Danny? No, Danny.
Could see that's.
Oh, good morning, Michael and Jeanette.
Could see the ceiling. That's what.
Want to turn off the
Good
TV?
morning, Marty.
Morning, Marilyn.
Morning.
Hi, John.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Ted.
Say good morning.
Oh, there's George.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. Sure.
Good morning.
Down, look down.
Morning, Shinobu.
George.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Shinobu-san.
Hi.
Bob
Sensei.
Morning.
Morning, Arlene.
Good morning.
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 Morning, Sensei.
Morning.
Morning.
Greg's with us this morning.
Morning, Candace.
Greg.
Hi, Butch Sakiyama.
Morning. Who was that?
Because of that, put it over there and set it up. And more people are not on. But not Cooney.
Somebody knows me.
Sorry, sir.
Lots of people on.
Oh,
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Auntie Misai. Hi, Molly.
Hi,
Hi,
Messiah.
Jenny.
Hi.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you all now. It's about time, so I'm gonna mute you all. You can unmute yourself again.
Morning, John.
Myself.
No, he's going to mute her.
Yes, please.
I think it was our waving at Jenny that did it all.
Please join me in Gasho. Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to those from out east. Welcome to our December 13th Bodhi Day service today. The Bodhi Day service, of course, is a service in which we commemorate the enlightenment of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. I'll talk more about this later. I've mentioned it the last couple of weeks a little bit, so most of you are familiar with it. Can you all hear me okay? Yes? Okay. I'd like to begin our service with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha, or the Nembutsu. Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman Dobs, Naman. Next, we'll read together the golden chain, and I'm just going to bring it up on the screen to share with everybody. There we go. I think you should be able to see it there. Of course, you know, the golden chain was written, it is said it was probably written by Dorothy Hunt, who was a Buddhist in Hawaii in the early 1900s. She's originally from Canada, so we take a claim on the fact that a Canadian made this. And it is one of the most endearing additions to the Buddhist liturgy that our Jodo Shinshu school has provided. It is shared by other schools as well when we have Buddhist gatherings. This is one of the readings that is sometimes read. So I'd like to ask you to please join me in the reading of the Golden Chain of Love. Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. In gratitude, may I keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living being and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do affects not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also those of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Next, we'll be reciting the Jusei-ge, which I have put up on the screen. If you already printed it off, you can read what you have printed off. We'll be chanting this first of all in the Japanese, and then we'll be reading the English translation. Okay. Naman nobs, naman nobs, naman nobs, naman nobs. Gagon chosega ishima jodo shigam mandok sevu joshogak gawo muryogo uidai seshu usai shobingu sevu joshogak gashi jobutu no myosho jojibo kugyo mishomo sevu joshogak ryokujin shonen joe shibongyo shigemu jodo isho denishi jinrigi endaigo usho musaido shoujo sangumyo gozai shuyakuna aichi ege meshigomo hezoku shoakudo tsudatsu zenshu mo gozo jomanzok iyorojibo nijigatsu shujuki tengon bugen ishukai ozo goseku toku o jodai shuju seppo shishiku kuyo isai butsu gusoku shutoku o ganen shizujoma toku isangayo nyobutsu mugechi sudatsu miusho gangaku erik toshi sai shoson shiganya goga daisen wo kando koku shoden ni tojimyoge Nama do zi bo nai shi o jo an na go. Namanabs, 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 namanabs. Okay, let's see now. We're going to read the English translation. Actually, it's been translated in a form of a chant. So if you wish to join me, please. It's one syllable per, one beat per syllable, except where there's a hyphenation, then it becomes two beats in one syllable, or two syllables in one beat. Okay, so you could just follow along if you wish to do so. I have made unrivaled vows and will reach the highest path. If I fail in any way, may I not attain Buddhahood. Should I not provide to all for countless kalpas to come, aid in times of suffering, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will reach enlightenment, but unless my Buddha name resounds throughout the universe, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will practice a noble path, wisely, mindfully, free of greed, seek to reach the supreme way, be a guide to one and all. May my power shine great light to illumine and dispel the darkness of the three poisons and save all from suffering. With eyes of wisdom I'll remove the darkness of ignorance. I will close all evil paths, open gates of highest good. When I attain Buddhahood, light will shine throughout all lands, light brighter than sun and moon, outshining all heavenly lights, giving my virtues to all, not forsaking anyone. I will proclaim the Dharma like the roar of a great lion, bowing before all Buddhas, steadfastly gaining virtues, with wisdom fulfilling my vows. I shall be a guide to all, like the wisdom of my teacher. May my wisdom also shine all throughout the universe and illumine one and all. If I shall fulfill these vows, may all lands tremble with joy. From the heavens wondrous flowers rain down upon all the lands. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandavs, 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 namandavs. Well, thank you. Once again, welcome everyone. Now, for those of you who might be fairly new to our gatherings, chanting is something that we do at all of our services. And the chanting actually is helping us to settle our minds, to calm our minds, so then we can listen with an open mind to the teachings afterwards. There is a very famous story, many of you have heard, of a young individual who goes to a Buddhist temple to want to learn. And when they enter the temple, the master or the minister at the temple welcomes them. And this young individual goes on to say about all that he has read so far about Buddhism, saying, I know to do this, I know to do that, I know this, I know that. And after a while, the master just tells him, why don't we sit down and have some tea? And so they sit down, and of course the master begins to pour the tea for this visitor. And after a while, the teacup gets filled, but the master keeps on pouring the tea, and pretty soon it's overflowing. And the young visitor, without trying to be rude, says, I'm sorry, excuse me, but my cup is already full. And the master says, exactly. He said, when you came into the temple, you had so much ideas of your own that there's no more place to put in new ideas. And of course, he empties out the cup and says, you have to empty out the cup before you could add in new tea. And similarly, so when we chant, our minds are being emptied of all the thoughts that we had prior to coming into the temple or prior to coming to the service. And so now you have a more open mind to listen. So today, of course, being Bodhi Day, I'd like to talk a little bit about this. Last night I had the opportunity, I'm sure some of you probably did too, around this time of year there are many Christmas specials that are on TV, and some of the classics. They actually were showing the Christmas Carol last night. I don't know if any of you saw that, but I'm one that enjoys watching. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it. I know probably line by line what the actors are going to say, and yet I like to watch it every year again. And so during this time of season, there's some traditions or things that we go through annually. And one of the things that for me I go through annually, and some of you have, many of you have probably heard me talk about this, and I hope that it becomes like a Christmas, well, not Christmas, but a year-end tradition for you. Because when I think of Bodhi Day, it always reminds me of my own experience. And this actually, this happened to me while I was still in Toronto. And it happened when, it was in the late 1990s. I guess our boys were still, I think Arthur was maybe 7 and Dylan was 5 at that time. But it was around the end of November, and I was in the office, and I got a phone call from a producer over at CBC. And the producer told me that Joe Schlesinger, most of you are familiar with him. He passed away actually last year in February. Journalist for CBC, was putting together a documentary on how people throughout the world celebrate Christmas. So, of course, as I was talking to the producer, and she was, because of our temple being from a Japanese background, I don't know why she decided to call it temple, but she called our temple. And I had to tell her that, in Japan, actually, Christmas really wasn't the big celebration at the year, and that New Year's was. Although I did mention to her that more recently, Christmas has been commercialized in Japan, and in particular, Christmas Eve was a celebration for young people going out on Christmas Eve dates. So it actually happened, this was actually commercialized by the railway system in Japan. They had a commercial, and there was a song that said, "Koibito wa Santa Claus." Koibito is my sweetheart, okay? And so this song is entitled, "My Sweetheart is Santa Claus," right? And this whole gist of this commercial was that on Christmas Eve, this girl is waiting for her boyfriend to come by train from a different city, and they meet up on the platform. And so it became romanticized, and Christmas Eve became a big dating night for young Japanese. Of course, on Christmas Day, everything was like normal, like, business was open, etc. So it wasn't celebrated in a religious sense, but more commercialized. But anyways, so I was telling this producer, of course, is that in Japan, we don't really celebrate Christmas per se as much as we do New Year's. So whatever I said must have touched a nerve with her or something, and she said, "Well, do you think that we could come over to your house to film what a traditional New Year's Day would look like?" And of course I told her that, as part of this, a big part of New Year's is the food involved. And I think this is what really interested her. So this is the end of November, you have to realize, okay? So first thing I said, well, I have to consult with my wife because Noriko does the cooking for New Year's, and she usually spends hours preparing for the New Year's meal. And nobody makes, the osechi ryori, which is the New Year's food, nobody makes New Year's food at the end of November, right? It's just not done. So I had to, I called my wife and I spoke to her. And of course, at first she was very reluctant, maybe that's an understatement, but I had to convince her, and I said, well, if CBC is willing to pay for all the ingredients, would you help out? And so finally she said yes. And so the day came, and CBC, a crew came over with Joe Schlesinger, his producer, and cameraman and audio man, and they all came into our house. And so they came up to the living room, and the first thing that caught Joe Schlesinger's eye is that off in the corner we had a Christmas tree. And here I was, I told the producer, well, we really don't celebrate Christmas. And here I am, a Buddhist minister with a Christmas tree in the corner of our living room. So I knew I was in trouble. And then he also noticed that at the very top, instead of a star, we had a statue of the Buddha, sitting Buddha, which is probably sacrilege to many people. So I knew I was going to be in trouble. I knew I probably couldn't get away without explaining it. So anyways, we did the whole New Year's Day meal filming. I had to explain to Joe Schlesinger what the symbolism behind each of the food items, etc. And at the very end, we went off to the living room area and sat down, and he asked me point blankly, he said, so why do you have a Christmas tree? And I had to explain to him, and this brings back from my childhood, was that as I was growing up in Calgary, we always had a Christmas tree in our house, except on that tree, my father used to always put up a little sign that said, on December 8th, Siddhartha Gautama attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. And this is therefore a Bodhi tree and not a Christmas tree, right? So you had to sign up every year, we would have it up. Now for us, for myself, as a kid, I didn't care what his sign said. It was a Christmas tree. I mean, it had all the trappings of a Christmas tree, all the decorations. And I think my mother, she was the more romantic of the two, my father and mother. And so she was the one that I think liked to get the Christmas decorations. They even had a little star, or not a star, it was a little pointed decoration that went to the top. So myself having the Christmas tree and having the little Buddha at the top was my homage, I guess, to that idea that this was in fact a Bodhi tree. But I did explain to Joe Schlesinger that, for the young kids, Christmas has become such a tradition of now Santa Claus that when they're very young, they're not really thinking about the religious aspect of Christmas. In fact, Christmas is a day that Santa comes, right? But I also mentioned to him that as they get older, there's nothing wrong in celebrating the birthday of an important historic figure. We may not celebrate in a religious aspect, but we just as we celebrate birthdays of friends who may be of different religious beliefs, we say happy birthday to them. So there's nothing wrong with that idea. In fact, culturally, living in North America, this is something that is shared, is a time of sharing. And so I explained to Joe that, in fact, in the Buddhist teaching, the historical Buddha, upon enlightenment, he also mentioned that there are 84,000 paths to enlightenment. So if we see all those different paths, that can help us in our search, spiritual search for enlightenment, then there's nothing wrong with that. So that we ended up filming that, and the funny thing about the funny thing about all this was that when the program actually aired on CBC, I think it was on Boxing Day or something like that, on the TV guide, the title for the show, they actually, now they had filmed other different cultures. There was an Ethiopian family, there was someplace from Eastern Europe. They were all within the Toronto area, but of these different ethnic backgrounds, and how they celebrated their Christmas or the year end. But what was funny was that on the TV guide at the end, the title for that special was "The Buddha and the Christmas Tree." So I found that quite ironic. But getting back to the historical Buddha and the Bodhi tree and the whole idea of enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, we realized that, you know, this was a really great endeavor. It is probably the most important act of the historical Buddha, of Siddhartha's life. And of course, we recognize it on December 8th. And so here in our temple, on the second Sunday of December, we commemorate this Bodhi Day. And the word Bodhi itself means the Bodhi mind, or the aspiration for enlightenment. And it's interesting because in Japanese, this service, they call it Jodoe. Jodo means completion of path, okay? Completion of path. So in the Japanese, this service is entitled the completion of the path. And of course, that's alluding to the enlightenment of the Buddha. He became the Buddha on December 8th. And yet, in English, we call it Bodhi Day. Bodhi, as I mentioned, aspiration for enlightenment. So one is talking about completion of the path, the Japanese version, and in English we're talking about the beginning of a path, aspiration for enlightenment. And they are both actually the same thing, because through the Buddha, through Siddhartha Gautama attaining enlightenment, he created a path, not only for himself, but for all of us. So this is a service about hope. It is telling us that there is a path for all beings, a path to enlightenment. And this is what Siddhartha Gautama awoke to about approximately 2,500 years ago. And so it is this awakening, this path that he has shown us, that we now follow. And just as Christmas Carol, a good yarn, you can hear it annually, year after year, and it still makes sense to us. Similarly, the story of Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, and his enlightenment still makes sense to us now, because we need hope in our lives. We need something that we can aspire to. And that is the enlightenment that the Buddha talked about. In the year 2020, of course, repeatedly I have mentioned about the pandemic and how it has affected all of us, all of our lives. But there is hope on the horizon with the vaccine, and we look forward to 2021 as being perhaps a brighter year. But regardless of what happens in our physical world, the path to enlightenment, the path that Siddhartha Gautama awoke to 2,500 years ago, this is for us here, right now, the path of enlightenment, the path of liberation from our daily sufferings. And so in commemorating this, in gratitude for this act that Siddhartha was able to complete, we hold this service and we express our gratitude, again, in our tradition by putting our hands together and reciting the name of the Buddha. So at this time, if I can ask you, please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And for those that heard me talk umpteenth time about my adventures with Joe Schlesinger, thank you for being patient with me. And it's great to have you all join us again. And we will have one more service, regular service, next Sunday. And then we're going to go on a break. We'll have a service on December 31st, which will be starting at 2 o'clock, our local time. So it'll be 5 o'clock in Toronto. Short New Year's Eve service. And then on New Year's Day, we also have a service from 10 a.m. So thank you all. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can do so now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
Bodhi
you.
Day.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I have to find the Buddha now for my
Thank
tree.
you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Sensei?
And for
Thank
those
you.
of you who have signed up for the lectures, they will begin this Tuesday night. Thank
Oh,
you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
And Sensei?